Sarah Miller had always admired her mother, Linda. At 42, Linda carried herself with a kind of effortless grace, the kind that made people instantly feel welcome in her presence. She was the kind of woman who could walk into a room, light it up with her laughter, and make everyone feel like they were part of her family. For Sarah, who was just 19 and still figuring out the confusing balance between childhood and adulthood, her mother wasn't just her parent. She was her role model, her confidant, and, at times, her best friend. It was on a Friday night that Sarah first sensed something unusual. Her mom had invited her closest friends over for what she called a girls' night. Sarah was used to these nights. They'd happen once every month or so. The house would fill with the aroma of Linda's homemade spinach dip, the sound of clinking glasses, and the warm hum of conversations and laughter echoing into the late hours. Normally, Sarah would retreat upstairs, letting her mom enjoy her time with her friends. But this night felt different. As Sarah came downstairs to grab a snack before heading back to her room, she noticed how animated her mother and her three best friends, Karen, Michelle, and Donna, were. Their laughter was louder, but there was also a kind of intensity in their voices, like they were carrying a secret they didn't want just anyone to know. Sarah had paused by the kitchen doorway, intending only to grab some chips, when her mother's voice reached her ears. "I just don't know if I should tell Sarah yet," Linda said softly, her usual confidence edged with hesitation. Sarah froze. Tell her what? She didn't want to intrude, but her curiosity rooted her to the spot. She could hear Karen's voice next. "Linda, she's grown now. She deserves to know. And honestly, keeping this from her any longer might hurt more than telling her." Michelle chimed in, her tone gentle. "She'll understand. She's always been mature beyond her years. You've raised her to be strong." Sarah's heart raced. Was this about her? It had to be. The realization sent her spiraling into a whirlpool of confusion and fear. Before she could make sense of it, her mother caught her in the doorway. Linda's eyes widened slightly, and for a split second, Sarah saw something she'd never seen before: uncertainty. Her mother, always so composed, seemed caught off guard. "Sarah," Linda said carefully, standing up from her chair. "Sweetheart, why don't you join us for a bit?" The invitation surprised Sarah. Normally, these nights were private, reserved only for her mom and her friends. Nervously, she sat at the edge of the sofa, looking at each of the women. They smiled warmly, but Sarah could feel the tension humming beneath their expressions. "Mom," Sarah began slowly. "What's going on?"
What were you talking about?
Linda sat back down, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She took a long breath, as though preparing herself for something monumental. Her friends exchanged glances, giving her small nods of encouragement. "Sarah," her mother said, her voice steady now, "there's something about our family that I've kept from you. Not because I wanted to lie, but because I wanted to protect you until I thought you were ready." Sarah's chest tightened. She braced herself for the worst. Was her mother sick? Was something wrong? Linda's eyes softened. "The truth is, your father isn't the man you think he is." Sarah blinked, confusion flooding her mind. "What do you mean?" Linda hesitated, then continued. "The man you've always known as your dad, Richard. He's been a wonderful father figure. But biologically, he isn't your father. Before I met him, I had a brief but meaningful relationship with someone else. You were the result of that love. I thought I was doing the right thing by waiting to tell you, but hearing my friends tonight made me realize you deserve to know the truth." Sarah's world tilted. She felt like the ground had been yanked from beneath her. She had never suspected anything like this. To her, Richard had always been Dad. He had been there for every scraped knee, every school play, every late-night talk. And now, she was being told he wasn't her biological father? Tears filled her eyes as her mother reached for her hand. "Sweetheart, I want you to know that nothing changes. Richard loves you more than life itself. He chose to raise you as his own, and he has never once seen you as anything less than his daughter." For a long moment, Sarah couldn't speak. Emotions clashed inside her, confusion, sadness, but also a strange kind of relief. Her whole life, she had wondered why she didn't quite resemble her dad, why people sometimes commented that she looked nothing like him. Now, it all made sense. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Sarah finally whispered. Linda's eyes glistened. "Because I was scared. I didn't want you to feel different or question Richard's love for you. But I realize now that hiding the truth was more harmful than sharing it. And I promise, if you want to know more about your biological father, I'll be here to support you every step of the way." The rest of the night was a blur of emotions. Linda's friends excused themselves early, giving mother and daughter the space they needed. They sat on the couch until nearly dawn, talking through the past, the present, and the future. Sarah cried, her mom held her, and slowly, she began to realize that the truth, while shocking, didn't erase the love she already had. Days later, Sarah sat with Richard on the back porch. She had dreaded this conversation, unsure of how he would respond. But when she finally asked him if he knew, he only smiled gently. "Of course I knew," Richard said, his voice calm and full of love. "Your mom told me from the start. And I made the choice to be your dad, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Biology doesn't make a family, Sarah. Love does." Tears spilled down Sarah's cheeks as Richard pulled her into a hug. For the first time since hearing the secret, she felt steady again. In the weeks that followed, Sarah began to explore what this new truth meant for her. She wasn't angry anymore. If anything, she felt grateful for her mother's honesty, for Richard's unconditional love, and for the friends who had encouraged Linda to finally speak up. She realized that families weren't perfect. They carried secrets, made mistakes, and sometimes waited too long to share the truth. But at the heart of it all was love, the kind of love that could survive even the biggest surprises. And in that realization, Sarah found peace.